While toys are usually associated with children, this review is for adults. This Power Rangers toy review is created for and intended for an adult audience.
Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another Power Rangers action figure review. This, as you can see here, is the Lightning Collection Lord Drakkon figure. For those unfamiliar, Lord Drakkon was a villain, an alternate version of Tommy Oliver in the Boom Studios comic books, especially through the amazing Shattered Grid arcs. Before I even get started on the review, I want to say a quick thank you to my very good friend Ranger Liz, because it was through her efforts that I was able to get my hands on this figure at all. This figure was listed for pre-order but not listed as available on Amazon for a while, but Liz discovered a trick on Amazon that she's used a number of times and she's talked about before, where sometimes when you place an item on an Amazon wish list, it will show up as available for ordering or pre-ordering when it doesn't normally. So that was what happened here. I got word through her that I should, take a look at the wish list and see if it was still available to pre-order that way, and indeed it was, and I was able to get my hands on it a little quicker than I probably would have. That being said, I also had videos to work on, especially the long Power Rangers Beast Morphers Season 1 recap that took a lot of editing work, so it's been a little while for me to be able to get this review filmed and done and everything, but now here we finally are. Now this is actually the second Lord Drakkon action figure, and you might be wondering if I'll compare it to the first. Well, let's take a look at this figure first before we get to that. So we'll take a look at the box art first, and you see I have the box turned in a way, number one, that doesn't glare against the camera light, but number two shows you the art that goes around the side, looking very menacing and wonderful, kind of turning it back this way, giving you a look at what's in the box there. You can see the alternate hands, the other one's down there by his shoulder on the art. You have a dragon dagger, you have the effect part right there, you've got his head in there, which we'll be taking a detailed look at because I think that's something very important to a Lord Drakkon action figure, and I'll explain why at the time. On the side, more of that same art there. Again, the other side is the wraparound art. I kind of had to turn it to the side here to show you, but this was just a little detail I wanted to point out. You can see here on the top of this side of the box there is the logo, the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers logo. I think that's a very nice touch to have it not be like a Boom Studios logo or whatever, because through the comic line, this is a character that exists in the universe of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I will explain for anybody unfamiliar, I kind of should have included this, but as you can kind of see from the suit, Lord Drakkon is a character who has managed to combine the powers of the Green Ranger and the White Ranger. So you have that green on the shield there, and on other parts of him. The suit is mainly green and gold and white, combining the green and gold of the Green Ranger and the white and gold of the White Ranger. All right, let's pop this thing open. One other detail that I want to include really quick from the box here is if you notice the logo for Power Rangers Lightning Collection, this was one of the first indications of Saban's name no longer being associated with the show's logo. You'll notice that it doesn't say Saban's Power Rangers, it just says Power Rangers. Contrast that here with the Beast Morphers Gold Ranger figure, which yes, I did put back into the box until I figure out a better way to display it. You see there, it does have Saban's, but over here, it does not. Little detail from the backing card that I thought was nice, tying into the whole Green Ranger and White Ranger thing. The lightning bolt is half green and half gold. So in posing the figure, I've decided to go back to something I've done in other action figure reviews, where if there's a picture of the figure on the box posed in a certain way, to me it's saying you can pose it this way and you should try. This is the closest I was able to get it, which is not bad, but it's not, quite so close to what's on the box. Alright, first of all, let's get the obvious out of the way. This figure is gorgeous. Just all of the detail that you've come to expect from the Lightning Collection. I love how you can see how sparkly this gold is on the helmet there and the finer details like the little red diamond type thing there, the shininess of the red on the visor, which really makes it stand out as like an evil version of Tommy. Just how glittery and shiny this gold is, and the shield, intricate molded detail on that, the cuffs, just all of the paint. This morpher, which, yes, you can see there, does include Drakkon's power coin, which I think is just an excellent little touch there. The belt is kind of plain, I'll say, but that's never been the biggest detail. It's just a beautiful figure, you know, kind of taking a look at the back here. I actually kind of like this little holster, if you will, because just that's more like true life. Little smudge, little dent mark or something there on the belt, which, by the way, is like a kind of leathery piece that moves, so that's neat. Those things happen. I'm not one of those that's going to get super upset about that, especially since it's on the back and not something I would normally notice. You've got arm spin up here. You have hand spin, of course. The legs. You've got the swivel there. The feet have, you know, side swivel and a little bit of toe movement. I thought they would go like front to back, but I guess you get side swivel instead. You see how high his arm is pointing up. His arm does not move that high. I was trying to see if it was like a little joint that I was missing that just wasn't loosened or anything, but no, his arm just doesn't move that high. The shield's not interfering with it, which, by the way, the shield is a pretty loose piece, but it is solid on the back, so that's not coming off. But the shield's not blocking. I guess like that. Okay, so
I was the wrong one!
It was just more of that really stiff articulation that you have to work. You can get it all the way up there, and I'm assuming, I don't know if it's the same there, but this one can do it, and that matches the pose better, so there you go. Also, to correspond to my Beast Morphers action figures reviews, these feet are actually solid because this is a Lightning Collection figure. I had posed Drakkon with his effect part, and that very quickly going through the various details of this figure, it fell off. So here's the effect part here, and funny enough, without the light, it's very difficult to find the hole. The hole, focus. The hole, if you can see, is right there in the middle, but it doesn't fit well. You kind of slide it on that way, but it never like slides in. It never like tightly grips. It just kind of sits on it. And then like, well, maybe it goes the other way. No, it just kind of sits on there, and it's pretty easy to pull off and just fall off. So that's a little meh. We've got a Lord Drakkon here, and you may remember that this has been done once before. Yes, here we have the Power Morphicon exclusive Lord Drakkon Legacy figure, which I actually did a review of after getting back from Power Morphicon. So I'm going to go ahead and give both the Lord Drakkon Legacy figure and the Throne accessory scores of 3 out of 5. To answer the question in some of your minds, yes, it's been sitting in this box ever since then, not even on display, which is mainly because I don't really have display set up, but also just because I didn't feel any pressing need to have it on display. But of course, since we have a Hasbro version of an action figure here, we will take a look at a comparison to the Bandai figure. Now, I will say right off the bat, this was a $20, I believe it was still the $20 price point plus shipping, action figure that was available basically to anyone through easy channels. This was a, I think, $50 convention exclusive that was difficult to get, especially if you didn't attend the convention. So let's see how they match up. Taking a look at the box art, I actually have to give the edge to Bandai on this one, but I mean, to be fair, this was a far more expensive convention exclusive, and, you know, it needed to be more attractive, whereas Drakkon was just another figure in the line. I just really like this dark lightning bolt with Drakkon in there, just the dark kind of cloudiness of the box there. Lord Drakkon Legacy Collection. The Power Rangers logo on there is in color. So, you know, I think that was a nice touch. It's kind of funny that this has a retail box, considering it was never really made for retail, just for conventions. And again, another posed shot of the figure there. And you see there, he comes with Saba, which this Lightning Collection figure actually does not. So that's another little edge there. So here we have another version of Tommy Oliver standing side by side with another version of Tommy Oliver, another version of... Anyway, one of the main things that jumps out at me right off the bat is how the Bandai version, which to be clear is this one over here on the right, is more exaggerated. The angles just seem sharper and bigger. It's taller, obviously. It's that kind of more like roided out standard Bandai Power Rangers action figure, whereas Drakkon is more realistically proportioned, but seems a little bit smaller and sleeker, which is an adjective I wasn't prepared to assign to Lord Drakkon, but thus there we are. The Morpher, you will notice, stands out a lot more and is a little more detailed. The belt has striping on it. I kind of have to give the edge on that to Bandai, actually. The Morpher is more detailed and I think a little more size proportionate. Although there's kind of a sense, you know, when the Rangers morph, the Morpher's attached to the belt and that all kind of becomes stunt prop and, you know, not as pronounced. So maybe that's not as realistic to how they look on the show, even though Drakkon was never in the show, but just a standard Power Ranger. But I kind of like how it stands out a little more, how you can even see, and yes, I'm going to point at this with Saba, but the little black detailing there, those little, like, arrows, for lack of a better term, that goes around the coin, I just think that's a nice touch there. The shield I actually have to give to the Hasbro figure because it just seems a little too big. I hope this term doesn't upset anybody, but the Bandai figure seems a little more anime. You know, just big sharp angles and just really big and muscular, where Drakkon seems a little more realistic. I'm not as down on the Bandai figure in appearance as I thought it was before I pulled it out. Something else I just noticed here, the gold on the shield and these armbands back here is consistent on the Bandai figure, whereas here it's the really shiny kind of gold, and here it's closer to that infamous mustard yellow, even though it is shimmery. And like over here, it's really noticeable. I might zoom that, but just, yeah, it's pretty noticeable. So there is that. Kind of pros and cons to each figure, but again, this figure cost $50 and you can only buy him at a convention, and this figure cost $20 and you could buy it just about anywhere. And now, yes, the comparison that I'm sure all of you are waiting for, you pick up this Tommy and he you know, there's no wiggle there. His legs are very solid. You pick up this Tommy and he becomes Lord Twerkon. Whee! And then he's like, what are you doing? Whoops. Yeah, again, it's well documented, but the legs on the Power Morphicon Bandai Lord Drakkon were incredibly loose. Yeah. Which can make him a little difficult to stand up. Of course, to be fair, the Hasbro figure is just as difficult to make stand up. Which of these is which? Cast your votes down in the comments below. Do it now. Cast your vote. No, I'm actually kidding. There, that's a direct comparison. To be clear, the Hasbro one is the one on top. The one on the bottom is the Bandai one. And that's slightly surprising because you might notice along the blade here, there's gold detailing on the Bandai one that is left out of the Hasbro one. Although, on the flip side, the buttons on the Hasbro one are painted, as well as the end of it there, while they are not on the Bandai one. So it's a little give and take as far as the paint. The Bandai one, again, is a little bit bigger. This is oddly reminding me of my Nate vs. Nate review with the regular figure, where that one actually had the bigger accessories than the Lightning Collection figure. But again, I think there's more attention with the Lightning Collection figures on being true to scale, you know, true to life, so there's that as well. It occurred to me when I opened up the Bandai box and saw this beautiful, and it really is just fantastic. I think this is my favorite part, if I can get it to stop glaring in the lights. This is my favorite part of the Bandai Drakkon figure, this just absolutely gorgeous Saba. The thought instantly sprang into my head, can you get Hasbro's Lord Drakkon to hold Bandai's Lord Drakkon's Saba? It's kind of, I mean, but it works. I like, you know, because it makes it look like a big, huge saber. Honestly, when I pose this Drakkon, I might just pose him with that Saba and his own dragon dagger. You know, let's have that be a little more realistic and true to life. Lord Drakkon is the Green Ranger and the White Ranger. He should really have both Saba and the dragon dagger. Some people would say that he should have a headless Saba, but I can't quite, you know, I paid $50 for that figure. I don't want to break that Saba, saw off the head for the sake of, like, comic book accuracy or anything. Heads I win, tails you lose. This is the head of the Lord Drakkon figure, and might be my favorite part of this, because obviously the Bandai figure doesn't come with a human head, and as much as I've talked about them not getting heads quite right, it was a technology they touted at Power Morphicon as far as their face matching technology to get faces right and everything. There have been some misses on the Power Rangers figures, I think. And then you had this one that was Tommy Oliver, but an older and kind of battle-scarred Tommy Oliver. They could not have gotten this any more right. This is Lord Drakkon's human face, an older, battle-scarred Tommy Oliver. You see there that, like, scarring and, like, energy burn type stuff, but it's, like, flesh-colored. It's just, it's really good. That looks like Tommy's face, but like an older Tommy's face. The eyes just glisten in a way that's just really, like, holding it up here and looking at it on the camera. I said this before, but it's just weird, to be honest. They could have been gods. I will say here, as I'm giving you a close-up look at the head on the figure itself, it was surprisingly difficult to get Drakkon's head onto the figure. So you see the head attaches to a little ball at the end of a stick there, and holding up Drakkon's head, it slots in there. I think the shield kind of gets in the way. You kind of have to hold the shield down. I mean, the head goes on just fine, but then you gotta, like, really, and it bends forward and back. It's going on easier now. Again, this might be one of those things where if you work with it a couple times, you know, it gets easier. Nice little side-to-side swivel there. I always appreciate that. It might get easier as it goes on there, but there you go. By the way, this is something you obviously can't see, but when you talk about how accurate the faces on these things are as far as looking like faces, my camera's face recognition technology is just centered and pointed right at Drakkon's face. So that's a pretty good face. So I like my figures to hold accessories, so these don't really mean much for me, but Drakkon does come with 2 closed fists, so he can go, Power Rangers, I'll get you. There you go. Though, by the way, funny enough, because the accessories that come with the Bandai figure are bigger, it does attach very well to Saba. So, take that for what it's worth. So did they just make this with the measurements of the Bandai action figure? It also attaches better to the Bandai Dragon Dagger. Significantly better. It doesn't fall off. It was like it was made for a bigger weapon. What better way to wrap things up than sitting down in a big, comfy chair, am I right? As a reminder, this is the Lord Drakkon throne accessory that was an additional upcharge. Off the top of my head, I want to say it was 15, 20 bucks, I don't remember. I'll try to find that information and put it on screen. But it was made for the larger Bandai Lord Drakkon figure, and I think that actually kind of fits here because it's just a larger than life kind of, you know, he made a big imposing throne that he sits in, you know, that's way bigger than he needs it to be, but it's just larger than life. And that is going to go ahead and wrap up this review. I do obviously give this figure my full recommendation. I wish it came with Saba. I wish the Dragon Dagger was better painted. I wish the effect part stuck to the Dragon Dagger. They provided better. But funny enough, you can kind of combine the Bandai accessories into this figure. And this figure was only $20, or you might get it at $25 if they increase the price point. And widely available in stores anywhere. I do think it is far more worth it than the Power Morphicon exclusive figure was, though that figure doesn't look as bad as I thought. The articulation's terrible. This figure is better in pretty much every way, just the other one may not have been as bad as I remembered. So, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like the video by clicking the thumbs up button right down below, and while you're down there, let me know what you think of this figure. Do you think it's better than the Bandai figure? Pros and cons? Let me know all that down in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see all of my videos and ring the bell so you get notified whenever I post brand new videos, such as these Power Rangers toy reviews. And if you'd like to lend any financial support to my channel, because toys can get a little bit expensive, you can consider becoming one of my patrons by going to patreon.com/OrangeRangerVideos. See a list of the tiers there and the various things you get back for those levels of support. Or head over to ko-fi.com/OrangeRangerVideos where you can get me a coffee. Imaginarily delicious. Those are set at just $3 a piece, and I greatly appreciate any financial support I find at either of those sites, as well as just sharing my videos and letting people know about my channel. Remember, heroes, you could have been gods, and may the power protect you.